Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Fountain of Wisdom and Knowledge podcast. As always, we are your hosts. I am Mr. Raphael II,
and I'm Truman Lewis.
And as always, we use this podcast as a beacon of knowledge, logic, wisdom, truth, and understanding, business and personal development. And as you can see, we have a special guest here today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can we put the phones on mute, please? Thank you. We have a special guest here today. But before we get started, we're going to shout out our sponsor, Go Get Dash. Go Get Dash is a ride-sharing delivery app similar to Uber and Lyft, but they have a subtle take on the delivery aspect, as well as they service a specific market niche, and we are still looking for drivers. So if you would please, if it be your will and desire to join the team, go to the Google Play or Apple Store today, download the Go Get Dash driver app and the Go Get Dash rider app as well. And it's there for you if you would like to create some income for yourself, or if you would like to have food delivered from your favorite restaurant that Uber and Lyft doesn't service. We're here for you. Once again, thank you to Go Get Dash for sponsoring the podcast. But back to our guest, Mr. Eric.
In the flesh, baby, in the flesh. Eric Jeremiah Houston.
Oh, not the full name. The whole government name. Good Lord. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into our topic.
My name is Eric Houston. I'm pretty much a jack of all trades. My background is in security, a little bit of transportation. I'm a father of 6, faithfully married, a great friend, a great brother, and willing to learn and give wisdom. That's great. That's
great. Thank you for joining us. So today we have the topic of tools of the wealthy, and we wanted to kind of expound on a little bit of the the attributes that you're not supposed to know if you're you don't have about 17 commas in your bank account. You understand what I'm saying? So Truman, I'm gonna start with you. What are some of the tools of the wealthy, especially from you coming from where the position that you were in at one point? What are some of the tools that you have seen being from the mountaintop that you're not supposed to know?
I'm gonna say it like this. First, I like to thank my brother. That's my brother right there from another mother. If you know me, then you know Eric, right? We've been together for what, 20 plus years?
20 plus years.
So we've been up, we've seen the downs. So this right here is a very huge topic for us,
right.
Because we came from that generation, or come from that generation that didn't understand what the tools of the wealthy are. We wasn't taught those things. And unfortunately, we didn't find out about those things until we came up with all the things that happened in our life, the ups, the downs, and things of that nature. So to make it short, I'm gonna let Eric. I'm gonna defer to Eric on this right here. I'm gonna let Mr. Houston go ahead and take it with this one.
I think the tools of the wealthy, meaning a trust, is a topic in our community that's pretty much brand new.
That's
as far
right.
as our community, the African American community. I think if we go back all the way to the superstars of now, all the way back, we have been affected by not having tools of the wealthy, a trust.
Right.
Like if you ever notice, in history, if we ever got in trouble with any drugs, taxes, anything, we always got everything took from us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you swing the card the opposite direction, they can go to jail for drugs, tax evasion, everything, and come home to everything. All their property, all their money and everything.
That's
but we
right.
never knew how.
That's right. Yeah.
But now it's a different day.
It's a different day. Yeah.
It's the day of information.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with that being said, I just wanted to touch on that part right there. But my brother is the master of that of the trust. He's the one that studied it forward and backwards.
I'll tell you what, somebody giving you a 10-year sentence will make you want to study some things in Raphael and Eric to try to figure out. But let me say this. We have a seminar coming up, a webinar coming up on this month here. It's the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th. And it expounds on the tools of the wealthy.
Sir.
You know,
that's
and
August 28th.
That's August.
28th,
That's right.
Okay.
And it's different times. You can actually go in. There's a small fee that we charge because this information that we're going to give you you can't get it no place else. We're going to give it to you real. We're going to give it to you to the point where you understand that. Guess what? Like my brother said, it's a new day. It's a new day. And had I known the information that I gleaned once I was in prison, oh man, I wouldn't have lost anything. Right. It's been individuals that when I was in prison, Raphael and Eric, that they was charged for like $30 million. They got a year and a day and walked back to every dime.
Jeez.
How do you now? Now I'm not racist or anything like I tell people, but let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Let's understand that it's all about who you know and what you know.
Exactly.
And we call it the tools of the wealth because, like my brother said, there's something that's called a trust. I'm not talking about a trust fund, and we're not going to get into all the tools, but the most important tool is what we call a trust. Some people call it a living trust. A living trust is what we call our inter vivos, meaning living. A revocable trust. A revocable trust is a good type of trust. It does the same thing, right? Let me tell you what a trust does. It protects asset, it creates privacy, and it reduces the taxes. Those are the main three things. Imagine where our people would be if they understood the power of a trust.
Lord have mercy.
Now, I'm gonna touch on that point there. You said our people, right? So I know of families who, from slavery, were able to maintain farms and all the different things, land and ownership of homes and things. And this is in slavery-bound South, Alabama, Mississippi. And they, they're black, but they understood the value of having land trust, having a family trust where you can use that trust as a bank. So
Absolutely.
If I'm coming to Truman's my brother, hey, I need a loan for a house. I don't have to go to Bank of America. I don't have to go to Wells Fargo. I don't have to go to PNC. I can come to my family trust and say, hey, look, let me get this money and I'll pay back 2% interest or whatever it is. So how valuable is it for individuals and groups as a whole to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Open to new information? Because sometimes you tell our people some stuff, and you might as well be trying to put a needle through a brick wall. You understand what I'm saying? So talk to me in that regard of being not only, because we're in the age of information.
That's right.
So you can Google anything, but being open to receiving the information and then applying the information once you get it.
What you think, Eric? And I'll elaborate after you.
Let me first say this about always remember Google isn't fact.
That's right. That's
huge.
Filtered information.
Google has an algorithm.
Yeah.
So what that means is the more people that put a certain information in, it becomes true.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It don't necessarily have to be true.
Right.
So, that means if me and you say 20 of us get together and we just want to put a lie up in there, guess what happens? The algorithm switches.
Right,
you see what I'm saying?
That's that
clickbait. So, with our people, man, it's always been an issue with receiving the information. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say it, but if it falls on deaf ears, then what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why presentation is so important. Like, with my brother, man, me and Truman always been real tight, man, because he's passionate in everything he do. So when he tell you something, he gonna make you feel it.
Right.
You ain't gonna just hear it, you gonna feel it. You know what I'm saying? So, but back to the question. The question was what again?
So just being open to information, because once again, you could tell someone something, but if they're not open to receiving it, or if they'll receive it, or maybe it just It's in one ear and out the other. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So how important is it for you as a person who, you hear about a trust and you might not know what it is, but being in the mindset of, okay, I need to figure out what this is because I know it can help me in the long run. So, being open to that, to receiving information and then applying it.
The information with a trust, man, is really, you can't even put a dollar amount on it. It's priceless.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a person that has a family and you trying to get generational wealth or trying to set up for your children. Man, this is priceless.
Priceless.
Like you can't even put a price tag on that thing, man.
Yeah.
Because if you really understand what that thing do,
it'll change.
It changes everything.
Yes.
Completely.
Completely.
Literally, man, it changes everything. I mean, on down to when you leave here.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Certain things, like I don't want to push too much into it because of the cinema, but certain things that happen when you pass away can't happen when that trust is in place.
That's right. I want to piggyback off what Eric is saying. Our people, I'm gonna kind of bring it all together, right?
Okay.
We are not open-minded to certain things because we got a history of backbiting each other. That's a fact. Doing each other in, as we so call. It's not because we want to do each other in. It's because bills get in the way. Life get in the way. You want your word to be your bond, but certain things happen. Do I pay this rent? My land taxes, my land taxes are due. Do I pay Raphael back or Eric back, or do I lose my land? So what I tell people about a trust is, a trust was there, but it was called a pure trust, Pure, because there was no infiltration of the government, there was no infiltration of the city, there were no infiltration of the state. God gave me, E-Money, Eric, and Raphael, gave us the right to shake hands on an agreement. And that's what a trust was in the beginning. But we wrote it up under a contract.
Wow.
However if something was to happen to me, let's talk about how the trust came about for the most part. Let's say, for instance, if someone went to war. Back then, it wasn't, quote, the law to leave your substance to a woman. Back then.
Yeah.
But what would happen, they would leave their substance to a young man that would just go on a rampage and spend up all their living. Then they come back from war because they didn't die and they didn't have anything. So the trust came about to kind of give them to leverage things. Sure. Okay, I'm not giving this to my daughter, but what I'm doing is making her the trustee because I trust her more than I trust him, and I believe that if I write it out, I want this done, this done, this done, this done, and that done. That's what the trust does.
Gives instruction.
It gives instruction. That's why they call it inter vivos, meaning a living trust. So going back to your question as it relates to open, I just think that the reason why we're not privy to it, number one, is a lack of information, lack of individual in our neighborhood that has access to that information. But we always knew how to save. Think about Big Mama.
Yeah,
they own houses. How they made things stretch. But now we live in a society where all the government wants to do is take from you. Take from you. That's why trust is important.
Now, going back to a point privy about our people, right? There's a lot of times where the information is there, but that's white folks. That's for white folks. White folks, that's what white folks do. Blah blah. Like removing that stigma, right? So understanding that this is something that can help anyone. It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's a people thing. And if you have the information, you can utilize that.
That's right.
So how do we get to the point where we removing the stigma of even with information present day, it's like, okay, well, it's removing the stigma that this is only for a certain group of people. But for us specifically, how do we get to the point where we're now moving from, okay, that's for white folks to know this is for us, and I don't want to think about this after now Nana's 4 feet into the 6 foot hole trying to figure out how we going to keep the house in the family and how we got to avoid probate. Talk to me in that regard.
I think how do we change the narrative?
Yeah.
Is what we doing right now.
Oh yeah,
Spreading this information.
Oh boy,
because a wise man says information kills ignorance.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So the more we spread this information, brother, and I'm gonna tell you something. It's something about when you hear good information.
Yeah.
It seeps in the soul. You know what I'm saying? So the more we push this thing, the more people gonna start to engage. Like, man, because our thing is we just want to spark the mind.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
As long as if I spark the mind, you can go off by yourself and go start checking it out.
That's right. That's right.
And once you start digging into it, you ain't gonna want to stop.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? That information is plentiful. It's gonna fool you up like a burger.
Right.
Spark.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, that's my brother, y'all. Hey, man, listen, bro. The way you just said that, this is how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, Mr. Raphael, and if you think about it, Eric, the reason it's needed so. You say, let's take the white thing out of it. Let's take the black thing out of it. Let's look at it under this paradigm. If you had $100,000, right?
Right.
And you died or we died, and that's all we had, that 100,000 would have to go through what we call probate.
Sure.
There's individuals, right? Guess who that hurts? That hurts us. It hurts the minority, really.
Yes, it does.
Because guess what? Once it goes through that probate, you have judges and lawyers that's friends, right? And this judge is going to give this case to this lawyer. Now he's going to get a percentage of that 100,000. So let's say it's going to be $30,000. Then your creditors, they're going to pay this person. It goes through the whole probate process. Now that probate process can take up to 2 years. So here, I'm gone, you gone. Our family needs that money. And when they do get it 2 years later, they're $30,000 short, and your whole family has been torn apart because of money. So why is it important for us to know about a trust? Because guess what? A trust doesn't go through probate. Because when I die, the trust don't die. When Eric died, the trust don't die. When you die, the trust don't die. But it allows us to notate how we want the asset distributed when we leave this world.
Stay on that point. Now, you talked about how the family is destroyed by the probate process and not having access to the money. So what about the family that does have access to the probate to the funds immediately, and now they're being torn apart because now we're fighting over I was the favorite grandchild and I get 20,000 and you get 1,000 or whatever. Like, how does the trust stop that? All that infighting and backbiting.
Let me tell you what a trust is. A trust is nothing but a living will.
Living will.
A living will. So what you're doing is you're sitting down and you're methodically, right, Eric?
Yes,
you're
sir.
sitting down and you're methodically planning out worst case scenarios. This is going to be trustee number 1. This is going to be trustee number 2. This is going to be trustee number 3. Shucks. If trustee number 1, 2, and 3 is on an airplane and they all crash, who going to be trustee number 4? Because at some point it's something that's called a majority. It's a majority trustee, right? And the majority trustee is simply you're taking, well, let's call it a minority vote, not a majority trustee, a majority vote. And it takes all the beneficiaries. And whoever vote for the person to be the trustee, that's who it's going to be.
All right.
And if they can't come to a conclusion, then guess who we go to next? The judge. And you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that to happen.
You don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So when you have a trust in place, Mr. Raphael, Mr. Eric, it already writes out how much money Raphael get, what goes to Raphael, what goes to this person. But the most important part is if it's $100,000 in there, $100,000 goes to that family, not 70. And $30,000 more in the community of our people can go a long way. And I tell a person, if an individual, right, Eric, if an individual got, if if the Donald Trumps do it, and they got billions of dollars, and they put their assets in a trust, why shouldn't you do the same?
Exactly.
You got less money than them.
Way less.
Way.
Right.
Way.
Not even close.
Okay, so with that, right? So you talk about the trustees. How can you formulate it so that you're not, if, like, say one of the trustees gets sued and they find out that they're a trustee on this trust, but you don't want them to touch the money in the trust. So how would you go about negating that? How would you go about putting it to where, like, you're not piercing the corporate veil, as they say?
You want to talk on that?
Yeah. It's simple, because you got to always remember this. A trust is a separate entity.
Exactly.
No matter if that trustee owes $10 million and she's over a trust that has $20 million in it, they can't touch that.
That's right.
Because it's a completely separate entity. Yeah. That's like me saying, that's like somebody walking in here and saying, Eric, you hit me, but I'm going to arrest Raphael. Does that make any sense to you?
None at all, right?
That's the same way with their trust. They can't. It's impossible. It makes no sense at all.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, the trust is protected by, say, it has its own armor.
Yeah. So. Listen, I like the analogy, but it's true, because a trustee is they have what we call a fiduciary duty. Their duty is simply to execute the desire of the grantor. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, we're being just basic, because on the 27th, 28th, and 29th, we want you to sign up for a small fee. We're going to give you things that nobody has given you. We're going to tell you what the tools of the wealthy are. But just know that there are tools, and we're telling you the first major tool in the arsenal is the trust. Now, there's different type of trust, but the trust is what you need. Not a trust fund, a trust. That's highly important, Raph. That's highly important, Eric.
Yes, sir.
So you talked about the webinar, 27th, 28th, 29th. Where do they go? What's the website that they go to?
They can go to
register.
My apologies. They can go to universalintelligence.biz. It's spelled out correctly, universal intelligence, one word, .biz. And you can go into the appointment section and you can choose whichever day. It's a one-to-many. You'll be able to see us live. And we're going to tell you exactly what the tools of the wealthy are. Right. We're going to be able to tell you exactly how to utilize them appropriately. We're going to give you real life stories of individuals. Shucks, I'm a real life story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But tools of the wealthy. Definitely.
Tools of the
Trust
wealthy.
me, you will not be disappointed.
So, and in kind of wrapping things up, like, what are your final thoughts as far as, like, wealth building for people in specifically our community, the African American community, the Black community, whatever you want to classify it as, wealth building. And you spoke about it before, where it's like, you have the drug dealers, you have the rappers and the actors and things, and then they either go to prison, or they get hit with a big lawsuit or something, and they lose everything. So, like, going forward, like, what do you think are some of the steps that people should do as far as maybe even looking into, like, the beginning stages of starting a trust? Like, what type of lawyer do they need? Things of that nature.
I mean, you can go the lawyer way, or you just need to find somebody that's well versed in a trust.
Yeah, us.
Right, exactly. I think
shameless plug.
I think as soon as you hear about it, I think as soon as you should jump on it. Yeah. Because let me say this, man, with our people, we had a slow start.
Yeah.
Meaning we behind like 400, 600 years. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So everybody else has got a kickstart. They got they're ahead of the race. So what that means is that they set up barriers that hinder us. So majority of us, we tend to do the wrong things to try to get to the right places.
That's right. Yeah.
So we take chances, risks that we take them risks to try to set up our families. But majority of the time, we never make it back from the risk.
Yeah. Ooh. That's
the scary part.
That's the scary part.
That is the scary. We never make it back from the risk. And so my father always told me, he said, man, if your child go through the same struggle you went through, you ain't do your job.
Ooh, come on.
So imagine you taking all these risks coming up to try to set your family up, right? And then you let your son, you don't set things up for them, and then your son try to take the same type of risk, and he get jammed up too. But that's what we
our reality. Yeah,
that's our reality.
Yeah.
Generation after generation after, and trust me, I come from it. Generation after generation after generation. Don't get it twisted. It's gaps in between. But as a whole, bro, we need to get on board. We got to close this gap because the gap is too broad.
Yeah.
Way too broad, man.
Yeah.
Got to close this gap, man.
Hey, my brother said it well. I mean, he said it well, man. We got to close the gap. I don't like to say because it make me like I'm thinking. But we have to close the gap. And the way that we close the gap is information.
It's a fact.
And that's what we're doing. Through our podcast, through the people that we bring on. My belief is once people see what God has allowed us to create, they'll follow. Because they need an example, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be the example. We're going to be the example.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Tools of the wealthy, baby.
Tools of the wealthy. Can't end it off any better than that. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We almost hit 100 views, so we out here doing it.
Y'all can say what y'all want to. 100 views is good. You wait till we go viral.
Yeah, we keep we'll keep leaving comments. I should have brought next time. I'll have the comments for people. Names of people who leave comments. We really appreciate you guys engaging, and we do our best to add value. And once again, be that beacon of knowledge, logic, wisdom, truth, understanding, business, and personal development. Thank you again to Go Get Dash for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you for Eric.
Thank you, Eric,
for joining us. We hope to have you on again for another conversation. This is episode 6. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We'll see you next week.